Hey, Lex.
We're gonna go see. Right. I believe this means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tech fans of all shapes and sizes and sorts and persuasions, welcome to another Monday morning tech chat show. This week, maybe less accurately named Monday morning tech chat show because we're broadcasting on a Tuesday. I hope you had a fantastic Labor Day weekend. At the end of last week's podcast, I was a little loopy and a little sleep deprived. Not much has changed. I had a pretty busy weekend, a little light travel, got to see some family. So I'm also kind of sleep deprived. And literally minutes ago, my darling daughter, not yet 4, but already developing a sense of contributing and participating in the household, just really thought it was going to be important for her to put her milk cup away. And so she went into the kitchen with maybe like 2 ounces of milk left in this little cup. And she opens up the fridge. And you know, there's this giant jar of salsa in her way. So trying to hold the cup in one hand and with little hands that can't quite reach around a Costco-sized jar of salsa, she tried to move that salsa out of the way and explosion occurred. So my wife and I scrambled to clean that up, again, just before going live on this podcast. So tensions were a little high in the Bagnell household. Welcome, everybody, for joining us. I'm really stoked about this week's show. We've got some fun news to talk about. The Monday morning tech chat show is a way that we can dig into some tech and politics, tech news, spend a little time kind of sorting our feelings out on the stories that happened last week, any continuing stories that we need to follow up on, and spend a little time talking about gadgets and services and stuff, what we love. We've got quite a bit going on, some First Amendment criticisms for Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. We've got Apple potentially pivoting on right to repair. We've got Huawei and their on-again, off-again battles with apps and services. And maybe also wrapping this all up with my thoughts on wearing the Focals by North AR glasses, which, oh no, did I remember to bring them up? I might have to run out of the room. I think my Focals are downstairs. I got the show all prepped and ready to go, and I maybe forgot one of the most important parts of the video. So, folks, I'm gonna put this just on pause for 1 second before we jump into housekeeping because I need those glasses. All right, I'll be right back. The vocals. You know what? I'm going to put them on right now. Worst bit of podcasting ever. If you're catching the audio version of this, that will have been cut out. All right, so I'll wear my focals for the show. They're gonna get a little foggy because lots of running around this morning and cleaning and sweeping. Broken glass just sucks. But we saved 2 ounces of milk, and all it took was sacrificing a Costco-sized jar of salsa that I really liked. Okay. Whew. Chatty boy, Juan wasn't focused. This is true. Jonky Juan, put on pants for Christ's sake. This podcast is often produced and performed. Yeah, they are fogging up. I am not used to wearing glasses. This podcast is often performed with me wearing my pajamas. Can someone spam the SGG shades emote? I'll spam it. We'll jump in and spam the SomeGadgetGuy shades emote because I'm wearing some real hip. I'm wearing some real hip glasses right now. Okay. I think the over-under on housekeeping was 12 minutes. I'm going to try and get through this. I don't know. I mean, like last week, even though I was a bit loopy and it wasn't the most cohesive conversation about tech and politics, I kind of liked that we ended up wrapping the show up under 2 hours. So I think that's going to be my goal. Let's aim for 2 hours or maybe just slightly under. So that means we've got to jam on some housekeeping. And I'm going to go into screen share here right quick because all of the stories I'm going to be talking about for housekeeping over the last week was a pretty busy week, coming courtesy of SomeGadgetGuy.com. Screen share right now. We want to check out some top 5 video editing tips and tricks for editing video from your phone. Edit 4K video on Android, 5 tips to get you started. I've been threatening to make this video for a while, and it's finally here. So, some sharing greatly appreciated. If you have a phone that has been made recently, I would say from 2017 on, you've got a pocket supercomputer, and you're probably not using it to its fullest. And there are some wonderful apps and services that can get you started on making nicer stuff. We all have this kind of opinion of smartphone video being terrible and low quality. And it's mostly because people shoot terrible, low-quality video and then share just raw, unedited footage. And you can be the change you want to see in the world by editing your phone video. This is critically important. Hold on. Where did it go? Critically important because the new OnePlus Android Q Beta. I literally tested this about 5 minutes before my daughter exploded a jar of salsa. The new Android Q Beta finally supports desktop mode over HDMI. No jumping through wacky random hoops. You go into your developer options and you turn on desktop mode and you plug it into some kind of TV and it becomes a computer. It's a little Chromebooky. It's a little like a Chrome OS style layout. This thing right here, the OnePlus 7 Pro I'm holding in my hands right now, is one of the most powerful consumer computers of the year. So you could spend, I don't know, like $1,000 on a phone and $1,500 on a laptop, or you could just use your phone and Android's new desktop mode. I'm going to be putting a video out on that very, very soon. All right, next back to housekeeping. And also why that tied in is because you can edit video from your phone connected to a mouse and keyboard and a nicer display. Like I've got a TV over here, I've got computer monitors. I'm hoping to get a laptop dock from Next soon. The future is now, people. We don't need to buy a phone and a tablet and a laptop and a desktop. We could cut a few of those computers out of our life. Okay, housekeeping. Next up, Sprint 5G in Los Angeles test drive with my buddy TK Bay. I fought the urge to put TK My Bay in the title because there was a little bromance going on. If you were watching on Twitch, we did a 45-minute live stream on 5G through an LG V50. And even though my mics, I had my little wireless lavs on, they weren't quite working. The mics on the phone did great. So you can see the stream connection and stream stability over 40 minutes on a phone on 5G, and not like some fancy, like they did a demo of 5G. These are just the towers that went up. It was pretty good. I was very impressed. So this is a cut down video. You can catch it on SomeGadgetGuy.com, just sort of like a highlights of some of the things we talked about. And then here on Twitch, you can go and see the full broadcast of TK and I talking about our experiences doing this Sprint 5G demo. It was, I'm still a 5G skeptic in terms of speed, but some of Sprint's strategy, I think, has some merit for improving service quality to Sprint customers. So definitely worth taking a check out there. Then I needed to do something a little fun over the weekend, and I finally got my video out on the GoCube. So this is the GoCube Edge. It's a $100 Bluetooth connected Rubik's Cube, and it's phenomenal. And without it, I don't know that I ever would have really properly learned how to solve a Rubik's Cube. I've never been able to solve a Rubik's Cube. It's been one of those omissions that I've been horrifically embarrassed by, because I feel like I'm pretty good at puzzles and riddles, and I love going to escape rooms and stuff like that. And I've never been able to solve more than 2 sides of a Rubik's Cube. So now my times are consistently under 2 minutes. I'm not speed cubing yet, but it's pretty rad. So I promise I won't turn my my channel into a toy channel, but I can't promise I won't turn my channel into a toy channel, because that was a lot of fun. And speaking of big toys, that was a terrible segue. I have a review out on the Omars AC power bank. It's a huge 96 watt hour battery, 90 watt output, which means it's verified. It's safe to travel with through TSA's regulations, and it has an AC plug so that you can connect other chargers. And if you're watching this live stream and you saw the video on YouTube, well, we know YouTube has some problems with the way that you might organize giveaways or contests, and some links can, like flag a video. So if there's like a contest link in the video description, then that can sometimes demonetize a video. But maybe there's the potential that maybe the folks at Omars sent around another one of these bad boys, and I might be giving one of these. I don't know. I mean, there's no way to know, really. It's a mystery. So I'm gonna put it in your capable mystery searching hands. If you can find some evidence, not on YouTube, because I can't do it on YouTube, but maybe there are other places where I post reviews or I link to my videos. I don't know. You might be able to find some place where you could win a giant honking battery that can charge laptops and phones, and if that's the kind of thing you're into, is getting free stuff, that could be worth a little of your time to investigate. And lastly, wrapping up housekeeping, LG V50 dual screen case, sort of a review, sort of a hands-on. I didn't want this to be a major talking point of my full V50 review, because it wouldn't be an LG product release without some regional shenanigans and drama on some features going to some parts of the world and some features not coming to other parts of the world. And it seems like LG had to kind of bow to carrier demands in building the V50 for the United States. And it doesn't seem like we're going to get support for the second screen case if you have a carrier branded V50. I have no idea if we're going to see an unlocked model, but instead, this is still something I wanted to talk about. So I did a video on this, kind of explaining what all that's like. And then I think the video also became a good place to share some thoughts on folding phones and how phones can evolve and meet different needs. And especially, like Android Q, there's a beta of Android Q on the OnePlus 7 Pro that supports desktop mode. Do I really want to make a more fragile phone that kind of replaces a gadget I probably wouldn't have purchased, like a tablet? Or do I want to look at phones becoming more flexible and fitting more disruptive uses, like, being able to disrupt the need to always carry a laptop? So stuff like that. There's like a philosophy that I think we need to talk about, where we want consumer electronics to go. And the V50 dual screen case kind of helped usher in part of that conversation because it's also kind of a silly accessory. So it's talking about something that's not like a mandatory, I think a must buy. It doesn't destroy the V50 experience if you can't have it, but we can use that to expand on a larger conversation on what we want and what we need. So, that's the gig. That's housekeeping. Did I make it? Did I make 12 minutes? What was the over-under for housekeeping? Anyone? Oh, Matt Tyler, silly but useful on the V50 case. Matt Tyler and I had a battery competition yesterday because I spent most of the day in airports getting back home. So it was V50 versus Note 10 Plus, and I managed to just barely eke out a screen-on-time victory on the V50 against the Note 10 Plus, where we were all very surprised that went down. Okay, I'm going to say 12 minutes. Woo! Go us. I made it through housekeeping. All right, 9:15. That's the perfect time to jump into some news. All of those stories on SomeGadgetGuy.com. You can hit the links in the show notes when this goes live or when this goes public. You can also always just go directly to the website, catch me on social media. And then all of the stories that we're going to be talking about from the news block, those will also be going, those links will also be on the show page and then also on SomeGadgetGuy.com. All right. So, I think it's always important that we start off with a little politics. And we've got a First Amendment challenge happening. What are our expectations of speech as it pertains to public officials using private companies' platforms? We're already fighting a legal battle when it comes to the President of the United States utilizing a platform like Twitter. And then are his tweets considered public declarations, or is this a part of a private service? And how should we combat a president who's really ban happy on Twitter? So if he's banning people from being able to see his official declarations on a private company's platform, is that a First Amendment speech issue? And the same institute that is challenging President Trump's Twitter usage in court is now also starting to examine Representative Ocasio-Cortez, the AOC. This is the Knight First Amendment Institute at Columbia University. I have read several editorials on this, but instead of linking to a news outlet talking about this, I'm just going to link in the show notes the actual letter from the Knight First Amendment Institute. I think this is important reading, something to keep track of as our legal system, our politicians, our elected officials are increasingly falling behind the tech curve when it comes to how do we regulate this space, how do we protect speech, how do we protect rights, and then how do we balance business against privacy. So this is an excellent read from the letter. I'm not going to read the whole letter here because it's not that long, but it's a couple pages long. But I would highly recommend you give this a scan because we're going to see some challenges in the courts based on the behavior of our elected officials. So this is from the letter addressed to the Honorable Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, United States House of Representatives. Dear Representative Ocasio-Cortez, we understand from news reports that you may be blocking some Twitter users from your @AOC account because of the views they have expressed. This practice is unconstitutional, and we are writing in the hope of dissuading you from engaging in it. Based on the facts as we understand them, the AOC account is a public forum within the meaning of the First Amendment. You use the account as an extension of your office to share information about congressional hearings, to explain policy proposals, to advocate legislation, and to solicit public comment about issues related to government. Recently, for example, you used the account to discuss new policy approaches we should consider writ immigration, and to ask the public, what commissions would you want to see Congress establish? The account is a digital forum in which you share your thoughts and decisions as a member of Congress, and in which members of the public directly engage with you and with one another about matters of public policy. So, and the letter continues on for a while from there. This is the same challenge that we've seen against President Trump, and if anyone is engaging in this policy, I think we need to have a clear understanding of what the boundaries are. If someone is, I have to believe that a figure as polarizing as AOC is likely receiving a tremendous amount of garbage on her Twitter account. And it might be humanly impossible to always distinguish criticism, fair criticism, or constructive criticism from some type of personal attack, right? But what are the policies and what are the tools afforded to us in a social media service so that we can better manage the flow of information and the flow of content that comes in? And is this someone who's on her staff that's trying to weed and maybe inappropriately banning people? Should there be a heavier leaning towards using features like muting? I've muted several people this week who were kind of just trolling my channel and trolling me on social media. But I'm kind of fine not banning them because they're constantly sharing and talking about me for as much as they seem to not like me. Those things actually kind of help my Twitter stats. So we need to make sure that there are clear and consistent approaches to how we regulate this space. This has been an ongoing conversation on this podcast because both sides of the aisle feel very much wronged. And we also saw last week the continuation of requests from politicians to start examining how we can police social media through legislation. Beto O'Rourke looking at some of the really ugly occurrences of violence in our society and shootings and what to do about parts of the internet that help people congregate in a way that might spread that kind of sentiment of celebrating mass shooters. The flip side of that, the Trump administration trying to leverage the FCC and the FTC to policing Twitter and Facebook to make sure that conservatives aren't being censored on these private institutions. So we've got a lot of stuff that we need to untangle, and it's through these straightforward, clear, open, and transparent legal challenges that our legal system and our elected officials will finally start taking their first baby steps into the 21st century. It's exciting stuff. So, from Matt Tyler, just so everyone is aware, Juan right now is wearing glasses talking to us, but he is also seeing notifications on the glasses, and I bet we can't spot when he gets a notification pop up. That's a fun challenge. All right. If anyone can, I've got a copy of my book. If anyone can call me out on looking at a notification on my glasses, and it's on the honor system, I promise I will be fair. But if you can call me out on seeing a notification pop up in my display, then I'll send you a copy of my book. From Steve Q3 Becker. I never looked at Juan's eyes that much. I'm getting lost in the hazel. All right, Charlie Spirit Song with a comment on this story. I think the problem with politicians and social media is that they didn't put which one is personal and which one is on the office. They should start doing that. And I agree. If there is a public platform and then a private citizen's communication, I think the reason why we're looking at these challenges and why I'm actually happy to see someone like AOC, who I do actually agree with a lot of her stance, whatever your political differences might be. I think we can all agree when we see an institute like the Knight Institute going after President Trump for a kind of behavior, we should see if there are other people on our side of the aisle that are also engaging in a practice that we don't agree with. And seeing the legal challenge here too will hopefully set a consistent policy. We just need the rules. We need to know what the rule book is. Right now, we don't even know what sport we're playing, and we're trying to come up with rules. So if something like this gets challenged enough, my hope would be that Twitter can institute policy and have clear guidelines on a page utilized by a public figure for this type of direct address and public discourse. And then also, if Ocasio-Cortez wants to have a friends and family Twitter, which is private, right? We should see a clear delineation in that practice, and I think Twitter could also do better to managing their platform, to providing those tools for people in that public space. And that's what I hope we that's what I hope we can see moving forward is clearer boundaries. Right now, it's still a wide open, whatever's popular, get the clicks, get the eyeballs, and that's kind of toxic. I mean, we're seeing that on every social media platform. That play almost always descends to the lowest common denominator, worst in the human, sort of condition, appealing to the most base instincts, and it's a downward spiral. And we could do better than that. We could raise this level of discourse. Aditya Anil, Juan be sliding into LG's DMs while doing the podcast. I wish. Okay, so the Sentinel 909. It's incredible to me that any president can have a Twitter account. How crazy is that? Just a wacky, fun thing to do on the internet actually became this huge driving force in the American political machine. It still seems so wrong in my brain, but of course, moving into the 21st century, we would be using these kind of platforms to better disseminate information. It's just unfortunately that these systems are really easy to game. I'm gonna turn up my mic just a little bit here. I'm recording a little low on my side, so let me know if this is starting to distort as I'm sending audio out. All right, we got to get into some. This is a trade politics story that's going to help us tangent into more tech news, coming by way of CNBC. And we're talking, of course, about the U.S. versus China trade war, written up by Kif Leswig. The trade war has already cost electronics companies $10 billion, and it gets worse on September 1st. So obviously, because we're talking about news that happened last week, this starting sentence in the story, if you need it, are you going to do that stupid Twitter pop-up? Does that show up on? Okay, better. Okay, good. If you need a new television, you might want to consider buying it sooner rather than later. The U.S.-China trade war will enter into a new phase starting this Sunday that will start hitting consumers' wallets. The Trump administration will raise tariffs on billions of dollars of imports from China starting Sunday, according to an official announcement in the Federal Register. That means when an electronics company imports a TV or a smart speaker or a drone from China starting September 1st, it will have to pay a 15% tax to the U.S. government. Eventually, this will end up raising prices on gadgets and other products for people in the United States, said Bronwyn Flores, a spokeswoman for the CTA, the Consumer Tech Association, a trade group that represents 2,000 different companies in the electronics industry, including brands like Apple and LG and retailers like Walmart and Best Buy. So, let me click out of here. So, this is something that we were talking about last year on Newegg, as we were kind of gearing up for CES, knowing that there was going to be some conflict between the United States, our current government, and all of the other sort of regions that were looking at distribution. I was talking to motherboard manufacturers about where they were going to start sourcing products, where they were going to start trying to shift assembly lines. We've already seen a number of electronics companies start the process of moving production out of China. I believe I saw a story. Someone correct me in the comments if I had this wrong, but I think even the Pixel that Google was looking at moving, were they moving to Vietnam, I believe? I can't remember. But again, moving out of that traditional Chinese manufacturing assembly area, and where else we might be able to more inexpensively produce gadgets from because of plays like this. From Abraham Artemis, the flagship phones will be even more expensive. Yay! Not. Chatty Boy 3 says, yep, that apparently the Pixel's going to move to an old Nokia factory. That's actually kind of cool. As well, I just saw another story. I don't have it in the rundown, but Nokia has so far been the best Android manufacturer, rated again for Android updates. I still have some criticisms over the Nokia 9 and the software for the camera, but the operating system updates and the security patches have been pretty solid. From the Sentinel 909, I order a lot of things here in Serbia through AliExpress. They don't have Amazon. This would be very disruptive for a non-rich country like my own. I think, and he goes on to say, I think the USA will be fine long term. So this to me is kind of interesting. Again, I get a lot of criticism that my tech coverage has shifted slightly more political, that I am covering more tech and politics. But this is why we, as consumers, and especially as gadget enthusiasts, just need to stay on top of some of this stuff. We're getting primed for Chinese manufacturing to cost 15% more. Were you looking at building a new PC? Did you want to buy a new laptop? What is that $2,000 piece of tech going to cost if the costs of a trade war get dumped directly into your hands? Should you be making smarter, timelier purchases now in case our administration can't win this tech war against China? Which I think it's increasingly clear I don't have a lot of faith in this administration to play a long-term game against China when it comes to tariffs. With our current leadership, I'm pretty sure we're gonna lose. From Goran Petrovic, will this affect TV and tech prices only in the USA? As far as I know, that this is a USA-China trade battle. So I don't believe this is going to have significant repercussions if you were shopping in Europe, the UK, the Pan-Pacific area. You know, I think this is pretty much just USA versus China, and Trump seems to think it's a win when we sell more soybeans and China gets everything else that they want. So again, I am not impressed with our current leadership here. Charlie Spirit Song with a great question. Please drop me some ideas on this so we could come up with different blocks. Like, I think I'm going to start calling the end of the podcast the spotlight as I talk about like a review thing. We've got the news block. What should a tech politics segment be called? I like that. Since we know SDGQA has 3 phases. From Matt Tyler, you think you have problems, we have Brexit, and now the Queen has suspended Parliament until we leave the EU with deal or no deal. God knows what effect this will have on deals and imports. Is our tech and stuff going to jump price? We don't know. Yeah, I feel like, again, because we didn't stay on top of our politicians, a lot of the stuff getting a little out of hand. And we're a little overdue a political market correction in bringing back some of this commentary and some of this oversight so that just regular people on the ground aren't horrifically screwed by overgrown children playing fast and loose with trillion-dollar economies. But I digress. Okay. Oh, and Ruru 2. We talked about this a little last week. Ruru 2, this is a win for Samsung that they still have factories in South Korea. It's probably going to hurt LG because I think they were trying to save costs by moving some of their manufacturing out of South Korea. But again, we saw Apple, Tim Cook, very interested in appealing to this presidential administration that, man, these types of trade wars and tariffs are just going to help Samsung win. So we need to make sure that the playing field stays fair. Of course, one of the first comments that I saw on Reddit when one of these stories was posted was like, all of these companies that are operating in the United States just got billions of dollars in tax breaks from this last budget that this administration put together. So honestly, we're barely sort of making up the difference in these tariffs as to what they earned back. You know, like, so I think Amazon went from paying 10% to getting something like $100 million rebate. Amazon not only paid nothing to the federal government for operating in the United States, they got a $100 million rebate. So now we're really concerned about a 15% tariff, and they're going to pass that 15% right on to customers, but they're still like profiting obscenely on things like our current tax policy. Save that for another podcast. We got other news to talk about. So I was just criticizing Apple, talking about how they were really interested in lobbying the government against a trade war with China. I mean, that is actually the better play, but everything gets real murky and messy when we see multi-billion-dollar corporations lobbying, our elected officials for their own company benefit. So while I have lots of criticisms for Apple, and there are many ways in which I don't like how they do business, and I don't feel like the messaging has gotten out about certain business practices that I disagree with, when Apple does something that I feel is worth encouraging and is something that I hope to see more tech manufacturers follow suit, we've got to give them the kudos and make sure that we're sending out some good information. Again, a number of stories were published on this. I went straight to Apple's press release. So what I'll be linking in the show notes is directly from the Apple newsroom, and that is, Apple offers customers even more options for safe, reliable repairs. A new independent repair provider program expands genuine parts access to more repair businesses. Excuse me. This is a nice step in the right direction. This is not the full fix for Apple supporting right to repair. I still feel Apple products are designed to be consumer hostile. If you want to try and open them, I am very disappointed in the state of manufacturing for products like AirPods, where you kind of need to destroy them to get to the battery if you ever wanted to try and service them, and replacing them is still pretty expensive per earbud. And that, I think we can be pretty confident that a lot of AirPods, when they reach end of life after a couple years, will likely end up in landfills. Like, they probably won't be properly recycled or deconstructed. Back to the kudos. This is a positive thing that Apple's doing. Got sidetracked on my Apple soapboxing. Cupertino, California, from the Apple newsroom. Apple today announced a new repair program offering customers additional options for the most common out-of-warranty iPhone repairs. Apple will provide more independent repair businesses, large or small, with the same genuine parts, tools, training, repair manuals, and diagnostics as its Apple-authorized service providers. The program is launching in the U.S. with plans to expand to other countries. And then a quote from the press release: "To better meet our customers' needs, we're making it easier for independent providers across the U.S. to tap into the same resources as our Apple Authorized Service Provider network. When a repair is needed, a customer should have confidence the repair is done right. We believe the safest and most reliable repair is one handled by a trained technician using genuine parts that have been properly engineered and rigorously tested." So one of the common criticisms you'll see on a channel like Louis Rossmann Rossmann Group is Apple has leveraged the federal government and is it ATF and also Homeland Security in being able to block repair centers from getting access to genuine Apple parts but shipped from overseas markets. Again, claiming that they're somehow counterfeit, even though they're made from the same manufacturers that actually make the Apple repair parts. And we've covered a number of times on this podcast how Apple's current strategy of locking repairs is pretty gross. So let's say you had two iPhones and you take the battery, which was certified to be in that iPhone by Apple. You take that battery out of that phone and you put it in the other phone. Because of Apple's software, and you don't have access to the Apple diagnostic repair software, it'll still hamper the full functionality of the phone because you didn't go through an Apple genius repair guy. That to me, and we saw that with home buttons and with displays, and oftentimes they would brick. So Apple would brick the software on the phone, and the phone would be unusable because you went and got a replacement home button or a replacement display. So this is a small step in the right direction. I'll be very curious to see if they're allowing access to the same software and toolkits so that these serial number certified repairs can be done by third-party representatives. There's a lot that we need to see, but at least this, if they are actually providing these materials, is huge, because I feel like you go to an Apple store, and we've seen this on the CBC up in Canada. They did an investigative piece on Apple repair. They've actually done a couple on Apple Genius Bar repairs, where something very, very minor, very cost effective to replace on an older product was taken into an Apple store, and then their only recommendation was, it's too old, we can't fix it, you just gotta buy a new one. That's the bummer, tech moves fast. And then they go and take it to like Rossmann Group or another local repair center, and they're like, yeah, it was just an exciter in the screen, it was like $5, and I charged you $20 of labor time. And here you go, your $1,000 laptop is now fully functional again. You know, that's the kind of thing where when Apple was fully controlling all of the repair on older devices, they also have an incentive to try and sell you new stuff. So if you can keep older products running a little bit longer, and those repairs are cost effective, that's better for the consumer. That's actually, I think that's better for Apple's ecosystem, and it's ultimately better for things like, I don't know, the tsunami of e-waste that we're creating every day because companies are trying to make their products as disposable as possible. From Ruru2, they are offering this but still lobbying to kill right to repair bills. Two-faced Apple. Matt Tyler, be careful. The last time we badmouthed Apple, the stream went off when Tim Apple got involved. That's right, we did crash last week's stream. Goran Petrovic, when you see Juan's eyes crossing while changing focus, notification came. Oh, and Steve, yeah, I forgot to check about that. So here, for those of you watching the live stream and those of you listening on audio, I apologize for this brief interruption. I've got to adjust them because they're a little out of focus. So I'm looking at the camera. Okay, I'm looking at the camera, and now I'm looking at a notification. Camera, notification. Camera, notification. I've got to turn it back on again. And my hat got in the way there. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Let me just click. Camera, notification. Camera, notification. Camera, notification. So that's what you got to look out for, folks. And I don't know. Someone tell me, because I can't see the screen. Someone tell me, because this right here, that is not the projector. That is the little lens assembly reflecting my monitor. So when I turn it on, no, it doesn't show. That's super discreet. So you probably won't be able to see when the projector actually kicks on. So it's going to be harder than that because I've had 2 texts from my wife. If anyone can find the time codes for the 2 texts I got from my wife, I'll give you a free copy of my book. Abraham Artemis, you're the only one who can see it. Ruru2, these are not the Intel glasses. These are the Focals by North. So they are just a very simple heads-up display glasses. And because it's really hot in my office, they're also getting foggy and sweaty. Okay, so moving from some good news that Apple got to share, transitioning over to some, again, it's ultimately good news that we're finding out about this stuff, but it's something that I think we need to keep watching these companies. Apple pushes this narrative. They take shots at Google all the time about how their platform is all about privacy. I do not believe that Apple has earned that reputation. When you fire up an iPhone and Siri is hard locked to using Google, and I want to say Apple made $10 billion on that licensing deal last year. And it's only been going up, that Google is continuing to pay more and more money so that you cannot change the search engine built into Siri. And they make it kind of difficult to change the search engine on other parts of the phone, like when you go through Safari. You got to dig into the menus a bit if you want to use a different search engine with Apple's web browser. So the actual core of iOS might be a pretty decently little contained bucket. But as soon as you plug Facebook and you use Siri and you've got other services on your phone, you're just as leaky as any other iPhone. I mean, as any other smartphone, Android, whatever. So we recently talked about how Alexa speakers, Google Home speakers were... it was found that humans were listening to the recordings that people were submitting, or they weren't really submitting. You ask your smart speaker a question, it takes a sample of your voice, and then just independent contractors were getting to listen to this audio to make sort of assessments on what was happening in the audio and how to better train their smart speaker algorithms. Well, wouldn't you know it, Apple was doing the same thing. So if you've used Siri, there's a chance, not a very high chance, but there's a chance that your recordings were sent off not to Apple, but to a third-party independent contractor. And this is coming by way of The Guardian. Who is this? Alex Hearn wrote this up over at The Guardian. Apple apologizes for allowing workers to listen to Siri recordings. The company made the announcement after it completed a review of the grading program, which had been triggered by a Guardian report revealing its existence. According to multiple former graders, accidental activations were regularly sent for review, having recorded confidential information, illegal acts, and even Siri users having sex. A quote from the Apple website. As a result of our review, we realize we have not been fully living up to our high ideals, and for that we apologize. As we previously announced, we halted the Siri grading program. We plan to resume later this fall when software updates are released to our users. So the changes they're making, it will no longer keep... hold on. There we go. It will no longer keep audio recordings of Siri users by default, though it will retain automatically generated transcripts of the requests. So it won't keep the actual audio, but they'll still know what you said. Users will be able to opt in to sharing their recordings with Apple. We hope that many people will choose to help Siri get better, the company said. That's pretty good. That's a good sort of apology setup. Anytime there is some sort of humans will get involved in the data, what lives on your device, that should be an opt-in situation, not an opt-out. We're automatically going to sign you up for our Smart Assistant grading program. And if you don't want to participate, just dig through 10 menus on your phone and then go to your web browser on your computer and sign this affidavit. Opt-in, much, much better. And then one last one. Only Apple employees will be allowed to listen to those audio samples. The company had previously outsourced the work to contracting firms. Over the past 2 weeks, it has ended those contracts, resulting in hundreds of job losses around the world. So again, Apple's so good at privacy and security, but if you're having sex and you accidentally activate Siri, we're going to send that to a call center in Sri Lanka to have people listen to you doing it. But real good. So much better than that Android when it comes to privacy and security. They're exactly the same. They're none of them better. This is all totally the same. And the only way to properly safeguard, if you're really concerned, I want to keep all of my data locked up in my own personal bucket, is never use Bluetooth, never use any online social services that track your behavior and have algorithmic-based sorting for content, and maybe also disconnect from wireless digital systems like 4 and 5G and Wi-Fi. Right now, all of our services leak like sieves, and Apple, there's nothing special about iOS if you use a modern smartphone like the connected device that it's supposed to be. So this is hilarious, and it probably won't get as much traction as it should. But when I went to go pick up my focals, I had to go downtown in LA. And downtown LA just has tons of these Apple billboards. black billboard, white text, Apple logo, privacy is our business, your security matters. Except for when you're doing it and Siri hears you. Then all bets are off. From Charlie Spirit Song. It's a trade-off. You don't get the raw evidence, but you still get a transcript of what happened. Abraham Artemis. Apple trying to be private, but also using Google stuff. Perfectly balanced, as all things should be. I get a snap for Abraham Artemis there. The Sentinel 909. Pinky promise? Only our people will invade your privacy. Oh, that's funny. Oh, man. All right, so we got a pair of stories here coming up. Hold on, let me get this out of the way here. So another ongoing story. Huawei, our government, China, battle. Will they, won't they, on again, off again? Will Huawei remain on this entity blacklist of not being able to do business with American companies? So the two stories here, kind of back to back. And also, one of those things, I'm always very surprised when tech reporting agencies and news agencies don't put two stories together. I feel like these two stories relate to each other. Excuse me. First, BBC News. I can't see who wrote this up on BBC News. Does BBC News really not publish a byline? Anyway, it's coming by way of Reuters from BBC News. So Huawei's next phone will not have Google Apps from August 29th. Huawei's next flagship smartphone will not come with Google's popular apps, including Maps and YouTube. Google confirmed that due to a U.S. government ban on sales to Huawei, it could not license its apps to the Chinese smartphone giant. It also means the next Huawei phone will not have access to the Google Play App Store, which could leave customers without access to other popular apps. Analysts suggest Huawei will struggle to sell a phone without Google's apps. That's some hard-hitting news. Analysts, man, they always know what's up. Analysts are almost never, ever insightful. But this ties directly into the next story. And this one was just recently updated, not yesterday, day before yesterday, that Huawei launches open source site for ARC compiler to promote Harmony OS and related ecosystem. This is coming by globaltimes.cn. Let me get down to the article. Huawei launched a website for the long-anticipated open-source Project ARC compiler over the weekend, a significant step in helping global developers adopt Android coding into applications that are compatible with the Chinese company's Harmony OS. The site will also help push forward the building of an ecosystem for the Harmony OS amid the U.S. attack on the Chinese technology powerhouse. So this is something that we saw Windows Phone struggle with. And Microsoft arrived way too late with good developer tools and compilers to help people port Apple and Android apps over to Windows Phone. And again, it was because we went from Windows Phone 7 to Windows Phone 8 and then Windows Phone 10, and all of them made developers completely start from scratch and relearn how to code apps for Windows Phone. Very, very sad. Makes me very sad. If Huawei is getting out ahead of the curve, then it shouldn't be too difficult for developers looking to cement their services with a certain population. If there's any expectation that Huawei's smartphone sales will continue to track in China and will continue to have some momentum internationally, then it might not be a bad idea to get out ahead of other competing services, code your app, compile it for Harmony OS, and have it ready to go at launch. You can use our service. Twitter didn't support you, but Mastodon, bam, that's your social media service. You can use it on Huawei. You can use it anywhere you want. Things like that could potentially have some kind of a disruption factor if we think Huawei can still move phones based on brand reputation. we're pretty confident, not this week, but next week, we'll likely start getting news on whatever comes from Huawei next, whatever Mate might be coming down the pipe. And if it is true that it's an Android-based OS for that phone launch, but doesn't have that core group of Google apps, then immediately you're going to see a whole bunch of articles from tech sites. This is how you get Google Play Store back on your Mate. And it's, if you're techie in the slightest, it's really not going to hamstring you. Does anyone in the live chat think that there will be... Do you think that there is anything you could do to an Android-based phone that would prevent someone at XDA getting the Google Play Store and Google services back onto that phone? Like, is there a way that you could properly hard lock that device somehow that it would prevent it from somehow getting access to those services, side loading those services? I mean, I guess if it required rooting and ROMing, then maybe, but I'd be very surprised if we couldn't get something on there, even when Amazon Fire tablets can be sort of opened to allow for Google Play services. From Matt Tyler, it sucks because here in the UK, Huawei are not banned and still do well with laptops. And they're rolling out 5G in London and the rest of the UK, but Huawei without Google services will affect sales here too. From Charlie Spirit Song, and besides, there is growing sentiment in China where users are going, if we have a war, screw Google, show them the power of China. I mean, I think that there is some social pressure and some social momentum where, again, I don't feel our government has the acumen, has the tenacity, or the understanding of what a prolonged trade war against China and Chinese institutions is really going to resemble. And I think too many people in this administration have kind of a short-term view on, well, yeah, we totally hit them with this tariff. We win. And then that was one tiny little battle in a humongous trade war. And again, I'm not confident we're going to win. Oh, and from Matt Tyler, Huawei will probably only release the Mate 30 Pro in China, delay the Western release until they know what is happening or until their services are ready. And I wouldn't be surprised by that either. Sentinel 909, as always, consumers scrabble to pick up the scrap and best bits off a tussle between corporations or countries. So much for customer first. Ruru 2, yeah, you could just put iOS on it. Charlie Spirit Song, BlackBerry almost did it with the Key 1 and Key 2 China editions, but they haven't patched it yet. Interesting. I'll have to read up on that because BlackBerries are notoriously impossible to crack into. So that would be kind of interesting if they tried to stop. Oh yeah, I really need to see if there was a Chinese BlackBerry, what people might have been able to do to get other services running on it. Oh, and look, Fat Produce finally made it to the chat. Andrew, I know yesterday was Labor Day, but your meeting should have still been on Monday so that you could watch my show live when it started. Everyone say hey to Andrew Wallace and his newly acquired OnePlus 7 Pro. You missed the beginning of the show, buddy. I'm going to be trying to shoot a video on this maybe even today, but if you're doing the developer preview, your OnePlus 7 Pro now has Android Q desktop mode over HDMI. You're welcome. Okay. One last story here, and then we're going to do the plug for Glowing Rectangles, plug for the Reddit. We can file this last story under totally not surprised, still completely disappointed, and again, just another thumb in the eye to anyone who was against net neutrality. No one was really against net neutrality. Come on. People, especially gadget fans, because gadget fans are smart. Okay. This is coming by way of Bloomberg. Bloomberg Technology, written up by Olga Karif. Wireless carrier throttling of online video is pervasive. U.S. wireless carriers have long said they may slow video traffic on their networks to avoid congestion and bottlenecks, but new research shows the throttling happens pretty much everywhere all the time. I'm going to also link the actual page. This is the abstract. So this is the actual study. This is awesome. I'll link the study. Bloomberg, I'll keep reading from Bloomberg just for the bullet points, but the abstract, a large-scale analysis of deployed traffic differentiation practices, which is a really tame way of saying how carriers throttle your ish. Net neutrality has been the subject of considerable debate over the past decade. Despite the potential impact on content providers and users, there is currently a lack of tools or data for stakeholders to independently audit the net neutrality policies of network providers. In this work, we address this issue by conducting a one-year study of content-based traffic differentiation policies deployed in operational networks using results from 1,045,413 crowdsourced measurements conducted by 126,249 users across 2,735 ISPs in 183 countries and regions. Nice. That's great. Those are big numbers, and I like big numbers when you're looking at a study. It wasn't, we talked to 3 YouTubers in Chicago on 5G. YouTube plays fine. No. You need more than that. Back to the Bloomberg article. Researchers from Northeastern University and the University of Massachusetts Amherst conducted more than 650,000 tests in the U.S. and found that from early 2018 to early 2019, AT&T throttled Netflix 70% of the time and Google's YouTube service 74% of the time, but AT&T did not slow down Amazon Prime Video at all. T-Mobile throttled Amazon Prime in about 51% of the tests, but did not throttle Skype and barely touched Vimeo. Yeah, it's pretty clear. None of this is based on network congestion, that when you fire up some type of video streaming service, it's very likely that you're going to get throttled regardless of the activity, what's going on the network. And we're moving into this new era of 5G services. So if you're on a Verizon 5G service, you'll get wicked fast downloads if you stand on one foot holding your phone over your head facing a blue moon and your feet away from a cell tower. But even on Sprint, all of these carriers, all of these suppliers, getting in between you and your services and throttling connections and slowing you down. And right now, that's totally legal and completely appropriate according to the FCC, that for no reason, and not because of network congestion, but just because they don't want you to have a higher quality of service on the plan that you pay for, the data and the bandwidth that you pay for, that they can wreck the experience on anything that you want to use. And that's the way it should be, according to people who were against net neutrality. Those millions and millions of Russian bots that were against net neutrality, this is a good thing for consumers, right? That's what we wanted. Steve, Q3 Beckers, I like big numbers. Quote from Juan. Charlie Spirit Song, hashtag some big numbers guy. Aditya, no, I like big numbers and I cannot lie. All you other YouTubers can't deny. Oh, and some people sharing my skeptical face emote. So yeah, if you're a techie and you're a geek, I think net neutrality is a very good reason to want this current administration voted out of office. I'll put my money there. We need to have conversations about the influence of tech over politics. We need to have an examination of, especially like the FTC, in examining the business practices of these mega corporations. And more than anything else, if you pay for bandwidth, you should be able to use it. If the network is congested and something slows down, well then yeah, that's sort of fair. Everyone is getting slowed down. And then in the free market, you would be able to make a decision as a consumer to say, oh, well, this one carrier can't handle the population that I'm a part of, so I'm going to do business with another carrier and switch teams. That's how this should work. But instead, we see every carrier is also trying to be a media distribution company. They all also own some type of video or movie or entertainment platform. So they have every interest in slowing down competing services, and they're allowed to. This is why we need some kind of reactive regulatory agency that can try and keep this stuff fair. If it gets too bad, then the only solution we'll have is to make it a public utility, which I am totally in favor for. But I definitely know that people who follow my channel slightly on the more conservative end of the spectrum would hate to see this network owned and operated publicly, like a public works. So if we can't fix it through traditional regulatory means, the outcome will be even worse for those of you who are against my more liberal rantings. All right. Sentinel 909. And so internet freedom dies, not with a bang, not with struggle and flames, but with a slow whimper, barely audible, gradual, and secret. Yeah, that's Edgit Pie in a nutshell. Hey, look at my really cool super novelty coffee mug. Oh, by the way, I gutted all of your tech. Yeah, it's all garbage now. But don't be upset. Mega corporations are making billions more off of you not being able to use basic services on your phone. But look at this giant coffee mug. All right. I'm really glad I found the abstract on that. The whole study. You can read the whole study on their collection. So they tested for YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime, NBC Sports, Skype, Spotify, Vimeo. This is a pretty good write-up with some detailed specs on what was killed and what was throttled and what wasn't. I'm really happy. I'm going to link that in the show notes on this article. Okay. Support your local content creator. This is the middle part of the podcast where we talk about how being an online content creator is getting kind of dicey out there these days. It's getting kind of hard for a lot of your favorite channels. And for a lot of the bigger channels, you'll notice they're making pivots. When Unbox Therapy and MKBHD are chatting up podcasts, then the overall appetite for high quality streaming video, more user generated content, again, getting kind of rough out there. So if you find someone someone new that you think deserves more attention, if you're following a channel that maybe is starting to underperform because of these new changes in algorithm, popularity metrics, or they just don't want to put wacky faces in their thumbnails and their videos underperform because of that, I'm definitely emblematic of that type of take my ball and go home video production strategy. Participation is key. It is not enough to passively watch a video, give them one view and maybe a thumbs up and think that, well, now that person is going to keep making high quality content for me to consume for free. If you want to see a greater diversity of viewpoints, of people adding to the tech conversation and the tech landscape, we need a more engaged participation from viewership across the board. I mean, not just for me. I hope you share my stuff. But one of the things that I really wanted to champion this year was trying to create a platform to help spread the word on other content creators. Again, not just the smallest channels, but everyone is getting hit with this YouTube popularity metric. And there are a lot of us out there that are going through this existential crisis of, I don't want to make every video about Samsung and Apple, but that's what YouTube celebrates. And when you stray from what is the most popular topics on YouTube, your channel is punished. If you did not put out a Galaxy Note video the week the Galaxy Note was announced, your channel did garbage traffic. My videos were ignored that week. And I know numerous people who smashed that bell icon who told me that they were not getting notifications on those videos. We know that there is a bigger barrier between the creator and the audience than ever before. So it's up to us. If I have to take to my own social media to promote something, then increasingly, we can stray from YouTube's built-in tools, and one platform that we can use to help better this situation is Reddit. So 2 years ago, I created a little subreddit called Glowing Rectangles. So reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles, and it's been growing, just user by user, follower by follower, member by member. We've got a nice little base. It's a growing community, and every week we're getting new videos, new content creators, new topics. And I've been using it as a social experiment where the rest of the sort of tech zeitgeist, the news feed I get from Google is stacked heavy. Even though I tell Google, don't keep giving me these stories, they stack it heavy with Apple and Samsung leaks and rumors. But when I allow for a public open forum where people are sharing videos from numerous other content creators, the videos that consistently rise to the top of the leaderboards every week almost never feature Samsung or Apple. Especially right now because there isn't any news from Apple. But we've got another round. This is another leak of the iPhone 11. Oh, this shocking new development on the iPhone camera. None of that's news. It's not news. It's gross speculation. So these are the top stories this week on our glowing rectangles. I'm going to go into screen share. Someone caught a funny photo of my podcast last week. Who did this? Vasani908 got a pretty good capture of my likeness there. I think I regularly make that face, but we're going to ignore that. Number one, most popular story on our glowing rectangles for this last week, coming by way of my buddy Bored at Work. Asus ROG Phone 2 Gaming, the beast. He's been doing a very consistent job of tracking gaming performance on phones. So I would imagine an Asus ROG phone would probably perform pretty well. Yeah, I think that would probably be pretty good. Then immediately following that, coming by way of Vulcan Project, Motorola Z Force review in 2019, still worth it. How much fun it is to go back and look at older devices. This is the thing that I liked doing the most, but got to do the least at Pocket Now, was covering After the Buzz. And unfortunately, during my tenure, we were not very consistent about going back after a phone had aged a couple months, just to see, was it getting updates? How was it being supported? How did it live up to some of our longer term usage? And increasingly, that's a more and more difficult review style to have. YouTube punishes your channel if you're not timely and trending topics and only talking about the most immediate tentpole popularity. So when you put your time and your effort and you put a lot of work into a video and you want to say, like, a year later, how did this HTC hold up? You know that that has to be a labor of love. I want to know how the Motorola Z2 Force aged over this last, year and a half? Almost 2 years. So now we're getting to the end of life. If you were using Motorola and Moto mods and were a part of this ecosystem and you wanted a phone that had a different screen durability and a different build quality, you wanted something a little different and decent cameras, how did Motorola live up to your to their claims, their advertising claims? We can't really make videos like that on the regular because Motorola isn't as popular and this phone is now 2 years old. So it's just not worth it. It's not worth it to spend your time making a video like that. But Vulcan Project made a great look back at the Moto Z2 Force. He probably deserves more traffic than he'll ever get through YouTube recommendations. And then, let me get this here. Back to screen share. I got to give myself the plug because it just makes me happy when one of my videos makes it in the top 3 on my own subreddit. But this is the top 5 video editing on Android video made it up the charts. But then I think it's hilarious that right after that, coming by way of Easy Computer Solutions, Galaxy Note 10 Plus versus OnePlus 7 Pro camera comparison, someone called the cops on me. So I love Easy, man. Dude is funny, and right now he has been on a crusade. He's been getting some flack. Again, I think he's had some tough criticisms for popular brands, but when he's dealing with the folks who watch his videos, it's hard not to take some of this stuff personal. So I think he's getting righteously indignant about some of the people that are calling him out for being a hater, or some of the people that are calling him out for they think he's being a fanboy. It's kind of funny, but this is something I really need to express this because I feel like I can commiserate with the situation. It is really hard to do a good smartphone camera review, and then it is even more difficult to do a good smartphone camera comparison. And especially if you live in a slightly more urban area, like Los Angeles. I don't know where Easy lives. But when I go to shoot samples, I am hyper aware of how odd I look in public areas, and I work really hard. It takes a long time sitting to try and avoid people walking through certain shots. Creepy tunnel, some of the lake shots that I get for every camera review. There's like a little gazebo that I like to take a photo of at a certain time of day. The swan boats, that little waterfall bridge, and then all of the Ventura Boulevard stuff at night. I've been shooting the same places for almost 5 years. So if you go back and you see, a Galaxy Note, my Galaxy Note 4, my LG G3 camera reviews, you can see the same setups, oftentimes in roughly the same lighting conditions. But even with me trying to be respectful of other people and privacy and knowing that I'm sticking out there, the whole camera review process is take a burst of photos in auto, activate some type of processing mode, if it's an AI mode, if it's an HDR or HDR plus mode, take another burst of shots. Sometimes you want to get like a manual photo, like if you can capture a raw image, take a couple shots. Then you want to shoot some video, and I only really try to focus on the highest quality video. But in some situations, maybe you also want to shoot slow motion video. In some situations, maybe you also want to get a panorama photo. In a couple locations, maybe you also want to get selfies so that you can see how the bokeh mode compares against a regular photo mode. And then, you kind of have to partition all of this. So like, again, some areas I'm just going to get a couple photos. Some areas I'm going to get photos and videos. Some areas I'm going to get photos and raw capture and HDR and videos. And then if the phone has multiple cameras, you got to do it all over again. So then I'm on Ventura Boulevard. It's 10 o'clock at night. People are all over the place. And then I've got to do normal photos, night mode, HDR, raw capture, do all of that over again for the wide angle camera sensor, do all of that all over again if there's a zoom camera sensor. And if I'm going to do a comparison, I'm sitting there with two phones doing all of that at the same time. So if you ever see, there's a coffee shop, Crave Cafe, in my nighttime photos, I'm sitting across the street at a bus stop. So people are just sitting around me while I consistently go to the same location because I want to see what these night photos with streetlights looks like. And I get some pretty funny looks. And I've been approached a couple times as to, what are you doing? Why do you have two phones? Why are you taking pictures of that place across the street? Are you trying to take pictures of the people at the crosswalk? What are you doing? So it is very difficult to be discreet and to not draw attention to yourself when you've got to sit for minutes to get some of this footage, which then goes into a camera review that people complain about, that I'm not for some reason giving it all away for free because of YouTube's terrible algorithm demonetizing and not properly supporting that kind of work. Why my camera reviews went up on the Patreon. So, short story incredibly long. Someone called the cops on Easy Computer Solutions. and I totally understand why. From Charlie Spirit Song, does working in a pair in such moments, is it better than working alone? I tend to notice solo people doing things, but when they're in a pair or in groups, it feels normal. But the problem with trying to do work in a group is I can't regularly or consistently count on someone being able to join my production schedule. So, I got the Xperia 1 and I had to run on that phone pretty hard, pretty aggressively to get camera samples so that I could get stuff set up before I had to send it back. And I still haven't even finished the video because I had to front load all of the production on that. So one, adding another person to just being around in the situation isn't really feasible because I'm either there to work or I'm there to hang out. And it's hard to find people that are down to like work on this, but then also just give up their time for free. And I don't like asking for that. I think that's kind of scummy. I would prefer that if someone is there, that maybe they're there in some sort of an assistant capacity and I could pay them for that. But right now, those videos don't generate anywhere near the amount of income where I'd be able to bring on a part-time assistant. So that's what I'm hoping to build towards. I'm hoping that at some point, this stuff is not only self-sustaining, but on a lot of this, I still end up kind of taking a loss on the actual YouTube stuff I create. So from there, it's just what can I really achieve and what does it really cost and how much time is it going to take? And if I want to make this as efficiently as possible, I just have to deal with the occasional instance of justifying my existence to someone and explaining what it is that I do. The Sentinel 909, and I appreciate this comment. I still do not understand people complaining about you posting the conclusion alone on YouTube. It's the conclusion, the most important part. That means you're monetizing what's least profitable for you, the very deep dive for enthusiasts. What is people's problem? And I mean, honestly, it's just the fact that they know I made other content. I don't blame them. I mean, that's how YouTube has trained the audience to react. If you want the full video, well, then I should be able to watch it for free. And I can skip over ads, or you can try and work out sponsorship deals and do a whole bunch of back-end work. And I should never have my experience in any way altered because I am conditioned to expect all content for free. And that works for a lot of people. I mean, if I could bring on a team and do the PR and work all of the sponsorships, then maybe I'd also be utilizing a similar structure, like every video of mine brought to you by D-Brand and case manufacturers and VPNs. I mean, I'd ultimately be fine with that. It's just that my personal channel is a little bit smaller. I can't guarantee the click-through. A lot of people only want to do some sort of pay per CPM, so pay per 1,000. And some videos of mine do really, really well, and a lot of videos won't. So there's no guarantee that the topics I want to talk about will perform well for YouTube's popularity algorithm. And a lot of them are long tail. So they'll see that first month where, oh, it did okay, but then they're still getting traffic years later. I mean, I'm still, in my top 10, I have a video of a Wacom stylus from like 3 years ago, that is still consistently in my top 10. If someone had put a sponsorship on that video, I would have made a lot less money on that one video. There's no way to know what's going to strike like that. Not with this current YouTube setup. So I went the opposite route. I appealed directly to people out there to see what they may or may not want to support. So it's it's not about whether or not I'm chasing the money or if I want to be more successful or more profitable. It's, can I do it in a way that I feel is appropriate for my community and for how I want to produce content? And I feel like I've arrived at a good starting position. Now I just need to better refine it. So this was all, I didn't mean to air so much of my dirty laundry, but one of the reasons why I feel like it's important to keep having these conversations, we're losing content creators. We're losing people who are valuable to this tech discussion. It is becoming increasingly more difficult for someone to promote and to build an audience and to deliver the kind of content that they want to deliver. And it's why we're increasingly seeing the same kind of echo chamber in our social media feeds. Glowing rectangles is an experiment, right? This is a social experiment. In the top videos of the last week, ROG Phone 2, Moto Z2 Force, camera video editing tutorial. A smartphone video editing tutorial. We go down to the fourth spot before we get the first mention of the Note 10 Plus, and it's a Note 10 versus OnePlus 7 Pro camera comparison. LG V50 dual screen case. 2 monitors on a Raspberry Pi from Gary Explains. So you could get a Raspberry Pi 4 and go dual display, and he's going to show you how to do that. Giant battery review. Cheapest folding phone at $140. Someone looking back at the ZTE Axon M. And now I think this is the 11 spot. We're down to Easy Computer Solutions talking about the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus, his favorite cases to protect the Note 10 and Note 10 Plus. I mean, if you compare that against your YouTube feed, I think you would see very different results. Even if you subscribed to all of these channels, I think YouTube would be shoving Apple and Samsung up your nose. You wouldn't see any of this other diversity, any of these other topics. And that makes me really sad. So if you would like to participate, reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. Again, every week I'm probably going to have this middle of the podcast airing of dirty laundry, the airing of grievances with the current state of social media and popularity algorithms. But you can do something on your own, even if you don't want to participate on Reddit. When you find a new content creator, when you see a slick new video, when you see someone who hasn't even met their threshold for subscribers for monetization, do more than just watch the video. Give them a share, drop a comment, participate, do something, and you'll find that it takes very, very little effort to get a content creator very excited about making more stuff. Because how many times have you found a channel, they make an amazing first video, they follow it up with an awesome second video, then they go a week, and then they come back and make a good third video, and then they're gone for a month. And then they come back, hey, sorry guys, I had to take a little time off and this didn't work, but I'm gonna get back to it. I wanna make all these other videos. I wanna make some more cool stuff. And then you never hear from them ever again. It's the audience that has the power to fix that. You can't leave it up to Google. You can't leave it up to Facebook. We need to be the shepherds of healthy tech discussion and find ways to break down echo chambers, because it's real bad. It's real bad for all of us if only a couple viewpoints are valid because of big number popularity. So reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles is my solution. And again, I'm happy to see more people every week participating. And I hope to see you, if you're catching this, I hope to see you also on the subreddit so that we can find more cool stuff and share more cool stuff and hopefully get these people a bit more attention. All right. Let me get this here. Fat produce. Go gadget glowing rectangles. Oh, and thank you, Sentinel909. This is not dirty laundry, man. This is common sense. We need to kind of stick up for each other, as otherwise what you speak of will happen, the death of free creative creators. So I thank you for that. I appreciate that. Well, and also, I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir a little bit. If you're watching this stream live, we do really well. I like the tech conversations and the tech debates we get into in this live chat. You've all been very good to me. So I apologize for the live stream folks getting the brunt of this. But again, also, if you're catching this on the audio version, maybe we should start doing like a monthly share. You know, like the first of every month, share a new content creator on a social media platform of your choosing, and we can try and make it a tradition or something. I think that could be kind of fun. So let me get this out of the way here. Doot. All right, folks. What say we talk about these awesome glasses that I'm wearing? I don't look terrible in glasses, and I'm really happy that these are frames that kind of suit my face. Yeah, that kind of works. And I'm sorry, real quick, because this is a good question. Charlie Spirit Song. About our glowing rectangles, international content is fine, right? As in non-USA. Please, more international content. Please, more viewpoints from other places of the world that, especially those of us who live in the United States, can benefit from. I've been trying to share more voices from Europe, the UK, and from some of the English-speaking Asian channels, because it's a very different perspective, and the rest of the world has access to mid-rangers that those of us in the United States can only dream about. So yes, if you're going to go to Glowing Rectangles and you've got some content creators that are from other countries, pass them along. We could use them. All right. So this is maybe one of the most exciting tech products I think I've ever gotten to review. A little bit of backstory. I did not try to become a Google Glass explorer. But my buddy Chris, if you go back on my channel to when Google Glass was launched, I have a friend, Chris Emerson. He's a really good guy. Right now, he's kind of becoming a guru for like Airbnb strategizing, like how to make money on real estate, and he's good at it. But he was one of the first people I knew that had a Nissan Leaf, and he was one of the first explorers in LA to get Google Glass. So I spent a lot of time harassing him and wearing his Google Glass. And I thought, wearing Google Glass, it's a no-brainer. Smartwatches were just becoming a thing. The Pebble was getting out of its Kickstarter phase, but this was the future. I didn't care about the camera, but I desperately wanted watch-like tiny bits of information up at eye level. Because our phones have always been terrible for notifications. We get used to the distractions of our phone, but it's actually not good design. It's actually bad lifestyle to constantly be checking this glowing brick what lives in your pocket or purse, or missing out on potentially important communications, or taking all of the time to manage certain notifications and certain alerts and certain sounds and ringtones. And we could come up with a more organic way to interact with small pieces of information. And I thought Google Glass was going to be the thing. The first generation looked terrible. It was cumbersome. The battery life was miserable. And you were Locutus of Borg. But I thought, we're going to walk down this path and it's going to get better. And then all of the glass holes controversy happened, and every company ran away. No one was interested in doing augmented reality or a consumer heads-up display system. Until now. I got to take a drink of water here. So these are the Focals by North. And I've been wearing them almost nonstop for the last week. Not even the last week. I got them Wednesday of last week. Yeah. So not yet a full week. But I did take a little weekender trip. I flew out to New Mexico to go visit some family. It was a jam-packed weekend because the same weekend was Zozobra and the Hatch Green Chili Festival. So I ate way too much food and way spicier food than I'm used to eating in LA. But I had my Focals on pretty much the whole time going through some amazing events. So these are heads-up display glasses. They have to be custom fit for your face. This is a first-generation product. And even for some rough edges on the implementation and the execution of this design, I am irrationally excited about how good this experience really is. This is now the new base moving forward, And I really hope we see some competition in this space. Maybe Apple revisiting their AR glasses or heads-up display glasses in 2021. But until then, this is the standard to beat, and they're maybe the only the only game in town. So they're chunky black frames. I'll put them back on my face. When you go to, I don't know if I can show this so well on camera. If I hold my face right here. So you go to a fitting, either in a North, the company's name is North. They'll do a face scan, but they also did these little pop-up store experiences. And they do a scan of your face. And hold on, right there, you're going to see a green tint over this eye. The reason why you need to do a face scan is they're trying to minimize the impact of putting information in your field of view. So there's a very, very small lens built into the larger frame lens. And they can also do this with prescription too. So if you need a prescription, if you have prescription eyeglasses, they can also fit this into prescription lenses. But this little lens is what captures and reflects a laser projector built into the arm of the glasses. You see they're not symmetrical. There's like a little projector stick out piece here on the side. And this shoots an image into this one tiny little lens, which is then perfectly lined up with my iris. And so I can see a notification when it pops up on the display. But if I put my glasses on your face, it's probably not going to line up right. So it's a very difficult experience to share. The person who was able to see it the best was my younger brother. And no surprise there, our biology is similar enough, and his eyesight is pretty close to mine. We both have slightly better than 20/20 vision. He was able to kind of see. He had to kind of move them around a lot more, and they were sort of sitting a little off center of his face. But he was able to check them out. And my sister was able to kind of see too. Her face is a lot narrower, so she was having to move them around side to side more too. But what you get is a very simple iconography pop-up of information, smartwatch style, directly into your field of view. So I took a couple screen grabs, and they're going to be a little hard to share because the app only works in portrait mode, but it mimics what you're seeing through the focals. So you hold your phone up and you're kind of looking in the same direction as you're actually looking, and you can screen grab what you would see if you were scanning through the focals app. So if I pull this up here, oh no, let me kind of shrink it just a bit. I know that's not quite as easy to see because it's a portrait mode view. Anyway, so this is the basic layout of what you'll see in focals. A little timestamp and then information that may or may not be relevant to you. They have a lot of proactive notifications, things like flights. So I was running through airports this whole weekend. It was really handy. I had a layover in Phoenix. Super handy getting my gate, my terminal information. My flight was on time. As soon as I had it connected to data again, that was immediately in my field of view. So I want you to imagine, you're getting off an airplane, you know you've got a connecting flight, you're holding a rolling suitcase, you've got a backpack over one shoulder, you're walking off the plane, you're going to walk to another gate. Without taking the phone out of your pocket, without breaking a stride, and without even having to look away from where you're walking, the information you need pops up right in your field of view. It worked so well flying from Albuquerque to Phoenix. And at the same time, and if you're on the Discord, at the same time, I was having a chat with people in my Discord by replying with text and speech to text and all of this. Like, I didn't have to pull my phone out of my pocket. I didn't even have to look down at my wrist, like let go of my suitcase and flick my wrist to get my smartwatch on. So going back into screen share, I've got a couple other screen grabs here. Let's see, another sample here, just getting the weather updates. And so again, it was hot in Arizona. It was going to be a high of 106 degrees. getting terminal information. So I'm at the Paradise Shops. It tracked me in Sky Harbor Terminal 4. Getting sports updates. So, seeing the Dodgers against Arizona. So I was in Arizona. I was trying to keep it quiet, but I was happy that the Dodgers beat Arizona. And then because our AL and NL teams are the Red Sox and the Dodgers. Oh, did I not get a screen grab of the Dodgers, of the Red Sox winning? I guess I didn't. The Red Sox also won too, so I was happy about that. And then you also have just like a bunch of funny little wacky things. Like there's a trivia game in Bart the Daredevil, what destroys the Simpsons car? And it's obviously Truckosaurus. So, like I said at the top of this section, I have not been... I don't think I've been this excited for a tech product for a while. I think our phones have kind of plateaued, and I think our phones plateaued in 2017. We've only been getting these little minor iterative improvements, which will hopefully change in 2020 as we get more desktop modes, and hopefully we get good hardware to make our phone a more disruptive tech piece. But it's not going to come from Samsung, and it's not going to come from Apple. We'll kind of have to do it on our own. But something like this is the next killer step. When Google Glass came out, smartwatches were an okay compromise. And they're really good for things like fitness tracking, right? So this isn't going to unseat a Fitbit because you want that, that heart rate data, and you want a better pedometer and step counting and all that stuff. But when I'm wearing a fitness tracker, I get all of my Google Fit data directly up at eye level. So I can keep track of things like my workouts and my steps and my heart rate and all of that data without digging through a watch interface. It's just right up at eye level. Notifications. Not only, and this just happened this last week. So on Wednesday, I was going to criticize this product like, I can get my text messages, but I can't interact with everything. So like if I get a Discord message, it'll give me the notification, but then I have to take my phone out of my pocket if I want to reply. And literally the first day I was traveling, I thought they'd broken, but they were just installing an update. The Focals now support most Android app notification services. So if you pull down your notification shade on your phone and there's an option to reply or to delete a message, now we can do that on the Focals. And it's speech to text, and it works really well. And it also plugs into, it'll analyze the message you get to also give you some canned responses. And they're surprisingly good. So a handful of these conversations I've been having with people, I haven't been dictating messages. I've just been doing the auto-generated canned responses. I got one. One of my wife's coworkers taught my daughter how to draw an elephant, and so she drew an elephant on her own. It's this adorable little cartoon drawing of an elephant from an almost 4-year-old. So my wife sent me a picture and I looked at it on my phone, but one of the options to reply was an elephant emoticon on my Focals. So, I mean, how do you not just send a little emoticon back? You're like, yeah, I saw your elephant. It's so cute. And like a heart face and smiling face and stuff like that. Super, super handy and really fast, faster than interacting with the smartwatch. So, the battery life, not great. The construction is good, but they're not the most convenient glasses to wear. That's as much as they can fold up. So you can't like drape them in a shirt like I do normal sunglasses. You have to be a bit more careful and managed with using the Focals because they're a bit heavier than normal glasses. Obviously a battery and a little CPU and a projector all on your face. And the notification window, this little lens built into the main lens, has a very narrow range of focus. So, I'm out at the Green Chili Festival in Hatch, New Mexico, and it's hot. It's high desert 97 degrees. That's really hot. And I'm walking around and I'm slathered in sunscreen because I'm kind of a pale skin. And sweating sunscreen into your eyes while trying to use the Focals, not ideal. And as I'm trying to wipe my face and get sunscreen out of my eyes, there's enough moisture and lotion on my face that these are sliding all over the place. And just to kind of show you, so if I click one of the notifications back on, It's going to take just a second because they've been off for a minute. So these are on the bridge of my nose. This I can see. If I push them back, now the image just got foggy. I can still see that there's an image. Oh, and now the image went away. So that's your tolerance. Visible, foggy. Visible, invisible. So those are things that you hope are going to be addressed into Generation 2. The initial, I got to play with these at CES this year, 2019, January, and was very impressed by the demo that they had. And they've got some Alexa features built in, and they've got Uber integration. This is a surprisingly robust platform for a very boutique-y first-generation product. So my initial commentary was going to be like, oh, well, obviously not for everybody or average consumers, and they're very pricey. But there are some good ideas here that I hope we see expanding on a Gen 2. My review will probably be, with these recent updates and the increased enhanced functionality and how awesome it is to do so many of these smaller short-form interactions directly through your glasses, will probably be a bit more buy them than not. This is a luxury premium product. They're very difficult to get your hands on. You have to be able to go to a North store and get fitted for them. So we're talking boutique consumers ready, willing, and able to spend a bit more on a luxury product. But if we don't support these types of initiatives, we won't get to a Gen 2 where the price drops. We won't get a refined model or a more basic model. Maybe you don't need speech to text and you just want the eye level stuff. You don't need the microphones and speakers built into the glasses. We can't get there if these types of companies don't get some traction and get get a spotlight. You know, they don't get some positive buzz. If we handle this as if it were, oh, this is a first generation product, and you know, like, oh, this is frustrating when I have to move the glasses on my face. I didn't take them off the whole trip. I was getting text messages from my wife and pictures from my daughter, and at Zozobra, it's really easy to lose your family because it's 50,000 people watching a giant puppet burn. You know, like, being like, I'm holding an Indian taco and a cardboard container of ridiculous fake cheese nachos, but with green chili mixed in because it's New Mexico. And I get a text from my sister that they're going to go meet back, that my dad had gotten brisket fries and they were going to go meet back at the Blanket so that we could go back to the open air area. And again, crowd of 50,000 people. So what do you put down? There are no tables. You're holding two really messy foods. How do you get to your phone? I can't even really turn my wrist to get to my smartwatch, to move things around on my smartwatch. And I'm able with one thumb to use the controller on the focals. Sorry, there's a ring controller for the focals. It's a little D switch that lives on a ring that you wear on your index finger. And while I'm holding nachos sort of against my palm with three fingers, I'm clicking the ring, I get to her text message, I hit reply, and I say I'm on my way. And I'm able to track back. I mean, again, all of this stuff, this is so silly, but it's about making our tech fit more organically into our lifestyle. And I want to see more of that, but we won't get more of that if we always act like a smaller company making a first generation product is never worth it. You should always wait until, Apple makes them and they're too expensive and they should only be $50 and a half a ham sandwich. And that's when I'll buy them. We've got to start taking some risks again. I might not have purchased these just sort of on my own as a general consumer. Now I feel like this is a company I need to support, like actively support, because this will get better. And a Gen 2 will probably be a bit of a sting if you did buy Gen 1. But if we don't start taking risks as gadget fans, as gadget enthusiasts again, then our tech never gets better. We're going to keep staying in this holding pattern of ever increasingly expensive phones that are going to get more fragile and do less. I don't think, I think the writing's on the wall for a lot of our other accessories and features, and it's not going to come from Samsung, and change isn't going to come from Apple. They have a vested interest in getting you to buy as many things as they can. So even though Samsung gives us something like DeX, where's a DeX laptop dock? Apple delivered one of the most beautiful smartwatch experiences I've ever used. But where's Apple disrupting their own market for giving us a heads-up display? Don't we think Apple would be able to do this really well? Well, why won't they? And here's this tiny little company that got some backing funds from Amazon, and it's completely blowing me away how good their first gen product is. But oh no, you gotta wait until it's like Gen 3. Well, they won't be around for a Gen 3 if no one buys in Gen 1. We need to be gadget enthusiasts again. And that's gonna mean often getting our hearts broken, but this is so good. I like this so much. So, does anyone have any questions? I know I kind of rambled on there a bit longer. I meant to make this more of a Q&A or sort of an interactive conversation. What's going on? I'm scrolling back up. There are lots of comments here, but I don't know what people were asking. Hold on, let me see. Matt Tyler. It did well, showing us how long it would take you to get home. Yeah, so you can get, if you're driving, they shut off. If you're driving, you'll see the time and then a little car prompt. And then if you're a passenger, you can click in again and tell the glasses, I'm a passenger, go ahead and show me more information. The focus is just close enough. I was hoping that they would put the image out like a meter in front of your face, like your eyes would focus out that far. But your eyes do focus in a little closer than I think would ever be safe to drive. So you probably don't want this information if you're trying to operate a motor vehicle to distract you from looking at the road. Not like, looking at a phone is any safer, but if you're a passenger or if you're walking, you can get turn-by-turn notifications with simple icons that give you the next turn or the next move. And they work really well. So I've got my home programmed, and I was in the Phoenix airport, and because I was walking, it gave me walking directions, and it was only going to take me 5 days to walk home from Phoenix. So that's pretty good. They must know I'm a pretty fast walker. From EditNL, that looks super cool. Genuinely feel like the minimalist look. Am excited for that AR future. So my mom knew what they were because I told her when she picked me up from the airport. She already knew that I had them. My brother figured it out right away because I think he knows that I don't need glasses. So I walk in, I see my brother, and he's like, "Oh yeah, what's going on? Why are you wearing? Are those like fancy glasses? Are they like speaker glasses?" And he started asking me a whole bunch of questions. My dad and my sister just thought like, "Oh, well, Juan's getting older. He needs glasses." And had no idea. My sister saw for an entire day that I was wearing these glasses, and it just didn't really come up, and I didn't want to be like, "Hey, I've got fancy glasses." But yeah, she didn't know that there was anything different with them. Even with me wearing a ring, and obviously like I'm occasionally like clicking it and doing things on it, it's discreet enough that it didn't really come up. She just thought I had big, chunky, nerdy glasses, and they're not, I don't even think they're that nerdy. It's just sort of a wider and chunkier look than, say, some Ray-Bans. Yeah, I mean, I was really excited about that. I feel it's really self-conscious I feel it's obvious when I get a different look on my face and I'm looking at a notification on the screen and my attention has wandered. But the interaction is so brief and so fast and so much smaller than looking at my wrist or looking at my phone that no one seemed to notice when I was really... In fact, I get accused now of not making eye contact. Like, "Oh, are you getting a text message?" And you're like, "No, I was just looking at my French fries." A lot of people are like misfiring now on when I'm actively paying attention to them or when I might be, looking at a notification on my phone. So that kind of helped verify like, this is the step in the right direction. I don't want a prism that sits outside my glasses that lights up when I get something. I want something that's more organic and more discreet. From Ruru2, when are those plastic see-through screens coming out? We've had transparent displays for a long time. I did CES like 5 years ago, and LG was showing off vending machines that had transparent touch displays. It's all just a matter of cost. And that's also one of those things, like you look at focals, and they are pricey. I think starting price is $600 or $700. I upgraded my frames with, a slightly different look to them, a slightly different style to them. And they're also a little bit more expensive still if you need prescription lenses. But the problem isn't the tech. I mean, we actually have Pico projector tech and transparent display tech, ways that we can focus this in different lens tech. It's cost. And finding a manufacturer that's willing to be one of the first to have a face computer after Google Glass, where everyone's convinced that Google Glass was just an abject failure and we'll never return to it. No, wearable computing, face computing, heads-up display computing, and better audio, that's where we have to go. Let me see if there were any other good questions. Matt Tyler, Matt Tyler, speech to reply needs some work. A couple of your messages yesterday didn't make sense. And you write KNOW as NO all the time in your fancy little text speech, abbreves. So I don't want to hear it that occasionally my speech to text got a couple words wrong when you can't even get one of the live chat messages to be free of spelling errors, mister. Okay? Some people talking about photography and let's see. Someone talking about liquid lenses. From Fat Produce, do you see any potential distracted driving issues with these glasses? So in the whole spectrum of distracted driving, if I had faith in human beings, this would be less distracting than looking inside your car at your phone in your lap. You drive around Los Angeles and it's terrifying. How many people are trying to be sneaky about looking at their phone by looking down while they're driving? And you see it. They're not being sneaky at all. But for some reason, instead of mounting the phone up on a dashboard or in some sort of windshield holder, people just hold the phone in their hands while they're driving. And you can totally see on the 405 or any of the major freeways when a driver is distracted by their phone while on a freeway. So if I were to compare the experience of looking at a notification on my phone versus looking at a notification through these glasses, the glasses are far less distracting. But I do agree with Focal's car mode. It's a hard disable. It shuts down almost everything. You click the little button to turn them back on and you're going to see the time. And that's it. And I think that's probably the right play until we get more automated driving features, sort of, like autopilot mode on a Tesla, and we get consumers better trained to safely use technology in these types of situations. I think it's better to just make it as low what's the word I'm looking for? As low impact as you possibly can. And then if you're riding in the car, you just have an extra click to tell the Focals that you're not driving. I think there are going to be plenty of people who start using Focals and think that they're being safe, and they'll click and say, I'm a passenger, and they're still driving the car because they don't want to miss an important piece of information. And I don't know that there's a solution around that. But I would probably disagree with those people, even though this is less distracting than using a phone in your lap, and it's probably less distracting than using a phone in a dashboard cradle. It's still distracting. So you probably shouldn't do it because driving is terrifying right now. And a large part of that is the human behavior around phones and the entertainment distraction. And it's almost always for terrible reasons when we see people get into car accidents. More camera chat. From Steve, you just go. Oh, I can't even say it because you got the hot word in there. He's got the. Okay, Google, hot word, and send a text message to my wife. Oh yeah, and then Google just popped up on my glasses. What's it gonna do? What are you gonna do, Google? Yeah. Okay. So it's communicating through my phone, and then my glasses popped up with the Google prompt to let me know that I was interacting with my Google Assistant. Let's see. From Steve, your wife's gonna get a bunch of texts, but she doesn't know from who. Oh man, that's funny. From Matt Tyler, if Apple did this, it would be $2,000 first gen, easy. And again, I would probably support it. This disrupts the smartphone. I mean, this disrupts. Yeah, actually, it kind of does. It disrupts the smartphone market. It disrupts the smartwatch market. This is a big step of progress for me, and I would want to see more companies jumping onto it. And you can't get more companies to jump on until a few companies show that they can be profitable with it. So once you see some profit, other companies get interested in trying to participate. So just sort of a fantasy exercise. Focals, super boutique, hard to get your hands on, and kind of a labor-intensive process in getting them made. You have to go and get your face scanned. They have to manufacture them special for you. Then you have to go back and get them adjusted. It's 2 trips to a North store and a bit of setup time. And then even after the setup, it took me a little while to get used to them. Like, I really did have to jump in. I'm so glad I took this trip because it kind of forced me to use them out in the field as opposed to just sort of walking around my house, occasionally clicking on a button and going, oh yeah, I guess this is kind of helpful, but I don't see where I would really use it. I'm at the Hatch Green Chili Festival on Sprint 3G doing things on my focals. It was a much better into the frying pan trial by fire. So if Apple wanted to do this and they've got the rep to do it and they have the label that they can command a price premium, I still don't think I'd criticize Apple too hard, so long as this was a product that really did fit into their ecosystem and improved the situation for iPhone users wanting a more organic interaction with their services, their products, and their data. So yeah, I'd be on board. And Apple, charge whatever you want, but do it. And don't play with it, and don't pretend like you've got this really awesome Skunks Works when you're really more interested in finding more subscription services to make for us. Start making some disruptive hardware again. Start making some disruptive products again, even if it means disrupting some of the products you already have. Because this combo, think about like Apple Sport sunglasses and an Apple Watch on LTE when you want to go out and do a workout. You're getting your prompts for your workouts and everything's super organic and up at eye level, and you can control, like on your Apple Watch, you can control what music is coming into your smartwatch's earbuds. You know, like we could make this really handy, and it would be a way that you could even leave your iPhone at home for a couple hours. I don't think Apple's really that serious about trying to do something like that. But if Apple did, you know instantly that Ray-Ban and Luxottica would start jumping on this the same way that Fossil is really now one of the only consistent manufacturers for Wear OS smartwatches. It's Fossil and TicWatch are pretty much the top recommendations for a Wear OS smartwatch. But Samsung jumped into the game. Apple jumped into the game. Apple showed you could make a lot of money on smartwatches, and everyone got real interested in keeping track of the smartwatch market after Apple did it. If Apple wants to do smart glasses, I'm going to say, yeah, do it, please. Even though we know they'll be way more expensive than they probably need to be. Charlie Spirit Song, how long do the batteries last? You're good for around... It depends on how heavy you use them, because when I landed in Phoenix, was going through my flight info, I was playing one of the pop-up flashcard games, trivia games, and I was interacting with the live chat on the Discord. I was sending a lot of messages on the Discord through the glasses. I think I killed like 15% of the battery in under an hour. I would say that's pretty heavy use because it was keeping the projector on solid for those 15 minutes. I mean, a part of this is it should just be those momentary interactions. You're not looking at a full-time 24/7 AR world augmenting display. So you should expect a full day of use on a single charge. Maybe not always a full day and night into the next day. Not a full 24 hours, but North rates the focals for around 12 hours of use. But that's not 12 hours of the projector on. Then they come in this rather large case, and the case has a battery good for 2 full charges. So when you're out in the field, you take them off for a little while, you can charge up the glasses and the ring reasonably quickly. It's not a fast charging setup, but you can top them back off again if you need them when you're out and about. So with the case and occasionally taking them off to charge it, you should be good for 30 hours out in the field before you need to plug the case back in, which isn't bad, but it's still like what? Like a quarter of what you can do on a TicWatch? Let's see. Talking about Facebook compression. I'm gonna see if there are any other questions, and then we can start wrapping this up. Someone asked, I'm sorry, I already scrolled through this. Someone already asked if I was gonna do a video on desktop mode. Heck yes, I'm gonna do a video on desktop mode. As soon as I'm off of this podcast, I'm gonna plug in my Elgato and start doing some screen capture on desktop mode. I just caught up with Matt Tyler. In my defense, autocorrect gets me all the time. So Matt Tyler is criticizing my speech-to-text translation on my glasses, but he can't get around smartphone autocorrect. Yes, well, I see. Matt Tyler, Colorware needs to get a hold of those glasses. I agree. I would love to see some custom work done on these, but I would be super nervous. Like if I have to give them to someone, like if they bend the frame too much, or if there's like a little tweak to the ear hooks, it would mess up my ability to see this the lens again. Man, I am way behind on the chat. I'm almost caught up here. Oh, Steve, Q3 Becker. That was me asking for the desktop mode video. Charlie Spirit Song. You know, when you showed the case, I think some company in the future will make a modular version of focals, like with wireless earphones, wireless camera, etc. What do you think? I am a big fan of splitting off more services from our phone again. I think Samsung shows us that the Note 10 is more powerful, but actually has a little less functionality overall than the Note 9. Right? So we're already splitting some of these things off. Forcing premium consumers into Bluetooth solutions is one aspect of that. But I think the more beneficial, it's not as sexy, but I think the more beneficial forking would be like getting notifications off of our phones. That's why I still really like smartwatches, is it moves the notification off of the primary device, which requires more attention, and into something that requires a little less attention, right? It's a more momentary experience just to see what came in, and then you can decide if you want to pull your phone out and do that. So I'm a big fan of spreading this out even more, being able to interact with different cameras. If you own a nice mirrorless camera, chances are you can already connect it to your phone, and you could use that nice camera through your phone's display and interface. You know, those things I want to see more of as we make the gadgets around us more of an ecosystem. Like, I want a personal area network of technology around me. Sensors in my clothes, sensors in my shoes, maybe more functionality built into my glasses. Maybe I have a shirt that has a chest strap built into it, so I have super precise heart rate monitoring, not just an optical scanner on my wrist, which can be off sometimes. I want all of that to be well fleshed out, and then I want the phone to become more of the modular brain of the experience. I don't want the phone to always be the one thing I always have to do all of my interactions from in the most distracting way possible. I want the phone to maybe become my laptop sometimes, or become a tablet sometimes, or be a regular phone sometimes, and everything else around me can help feed that phone the information that I want. So, and from Steve, I hope someday we could get a pair of glasses that would let you leave your phone at home. And again, maybe the future of this is just getting away from slab of glass on both sides of the device, where I do all of my computing. And so I have to look at the world like this. And most of it happens here. And if we had a slightly better audio-based user interface with little bits of visual information when necessary coming up at eye level, that would seriously interrupt the need for this all the time in your pocket. That could be pretty cool. And that's pretty good. Matt Tyler, your wife knows you have the glasses, so you can't tell her you didn't get her message when you don't want to talk. That's true. It's a good thing I like my wife, and it's a good thing that my favorite person on the planet to talk to is my wife. So, oh man. Charlie Spirit song, Personal Area Network. I haven't heard that since Metal Gear Solid. Tech Leathercraft. I thought PAN, Personal Area Network, was trademarked by Scotty Vest. It's how funny how tech has come. I wanted some Scotty Vest shorts and a Scotty Vest vest so bad when they first came out. So I was when was that? So I was jumping into the forums on Dave's iPack. If you guys remember Dave's iPack back in the day, you probably ran into some nerd named Jikpatek, which was a terrible, terrible username pun based on my initials. And I actually did, they ran kind of like a little audio podcast for a while, and I did a little work editing and balancing the levels on their podcast, their audio show. But I was in those forums hardcore, and I still hold the record for overclocking the iPack HX 2750 running Windows Mobile 6.1. Anyway, sorry, just had a little flash of memory going all the way back there. But I remember seeing those advertisements for Scotty Vest gear and cargo shorts and the vest, and I wanted that so bad. It's like a vest, but it's a backpack and all these pockets and pathways, and I could put headphones through this one path and have them come out my collar, and oh man, I wanted that so bad. I do not want that anymore. I think that looks a little too nerdy even for my tastes now. Oh, and Steve, Q3 Becker, can we get a shout out to Matt Tyler gifting 3 subs today? See, this is one of the things, the way I watch my live chat, I need to pay more attention to the actual Twitch live chat. So, Matt Tyler, ooh, I just smashed my keyboard. I was so excited. RIP headphone wearers, my apologies. Matt Tyler, thank you so much. That is tremendous of you. Really awesome for you to be participating and supporting the production of this podcast, and then also how we're sharing and distributing this podcast. You rock. You're awesome. Thank you so much. So yes, I think it's about time we wrap this up. See, now Matt Tyler in the live chat is getting really self-conscious about his spelling errors because he called me out on my speech-to-text glasses. All right, let's wrap this up. Folks, I'm going to have a ton of stuff coming out. I'm not going to put out a Focals review this week. I want to wear them in my normal life for a couple more days. I have a lot that I need to figure out how I want to shoot. it's really difficult to show off this experience even when you're in person. I'm trying to find a way that I can better communicate what this is like. Like if I go into screen share and I show you this, oh, not that. If I show you this, it's an idea of what this is like, but it doesn't fully express how this works or what this feels like. When I'm putting these things on, when I'm really navigating my day, when I'm recording fun videos, you know, this is me shooting a little video for my daughter at Zozobra, and I was able to get information this festival in Santa Fe, you know, with my whole family, you know, like it just became a part of being there. And I don't know how to convey that in a video. And I'm not sure I'm the best storyteller to try and convey that in a video. But I gotta try. So Focal's review will not be out next week. I'm gonna try and rush right now, shoot a quick video on desktop mode for Android. I've got some headphones and some more accessories that we're gonna be putting some videos out on. Don't forget that there's a mystery, maybe a mystery giveaway. Who knows? If you need a giant power solution, something could be somewhere where I share videos and editorials and commentary. You might be able to find something that could be kind of cool, and you might get a giant battery out of it. I don't know. Who knows? It could happen. And then videos, wrapping up my time with T-Mobile's Revelry. Spending some more time with the LG V50. I'm going to do some war driving for the V50 and see if I can really find some 5G out here in Southern California, and a follow-up to the V50 now that I did that dual case review. Just what it's like using the phone for real, some of the new camera features on the phone. There's a lot to talk about all over the place. So this is going to be a pretty busy week, and tonight I'm going to be visiting the crew on All About Android. So if you didn't get enough of me talking this morning, you can catch me later tonight joining Jason and the crew on AAA podcast, All About Android. I love their show on Twit, and I'm so happy that they occasionally ask me to come back and talk about more nerdy tech stuff. So lots going on, a lot of stuff to catch up on, and a lot of stuff to finish up. And I'm really excited because some of this is tech that I honestly was worried we might never get. So we got to make some noise about it. So, you know the normal drill. You can catch me around the rest of the internet on the socials at SomeGadgetGuy. SomeGadgetGuy.com is the home blog. Juan Bagnell on YouTube. But if you search for SomeGadgetGuy, you'll find me wherever you need to find me. Huge, major thank you, shout out of glory to the folks in the live chat this week. This was a really fun show to come back to. Like I said, still kind of sleep deprived. I had a 4 a.m. flight yesterday. I spent some time, you know, playing around with my daughter last night and reading a lot of books before bedtime, and I crashed pretty hard, but still pretty loopy. And the interaction on this show helps tremendously in keeping me excited about talking about all this tech stuff. So again, those of you watching, those of you sharing the show, commenting, leaving reviews on podcasting platforms, I can't thank you enough, because this is the thing I look forward to most every week, is doing the Monday morning tech chat show, even when sometimes it's not on a Monday. So folks, I want you to have an amazing week. I want you to do awesome with your technology. I want you to be awesome with your technology. And I will catch you here next Monday, back on a Monday, for another episode of the SGGQA Monday Morning Tech Chat. Thank you so much. I love you all. Take care. Be safe, especially if you're down south and hurricanes are coming. Tech can help you with that too, and maybe we should talk about that next week too. But be well. I'll catch you all on the next one.